The Spider-Man No Way Home trailer just gave us our first look at the Spider-Verse and the Multiversal Sinister Six that comes with it. It is insane. BD here with your Spider-Man No Way Home trailer breakdown, trying to catch every little detail for you to validate that you saw it too, or maybe just help you learn something, while also having some fun with you all. I'll share my reaction to the trailer at the end of this video, so if you care, stick around, but if not, we're starting with the details. Let's get this out of the way. Mephisto confirmed! Just kidding, but actually possibly this time. We'll get to that. I think we get our look at how the movie is going to start when MJ and Peter are surrounded by people who now know he is Spider-Man, picking up where Spider-Man Far From Home left off, but honestly, that's not the most important thing. You want to talk about multiverse and villains, so shall we? Peter asks Doctor Strange to basically erase the memories people have of him being Spider-Man. Strange casts the spell against Wong's better judgment, who might be popping out to go fight Abomination, which you'll see in Shang-Chi, and the spell applies to everyone. That means MJ, and Ned, and Aunt May, and Happy Hogan, and probably all of Peter's new Avengers pals who we met in Infinity War and Endgame. They're all gonna forget who he is. This is very much in line with a comic by the name of One More Day. In that comic event from 2007, Peter tries to save Aunt May from dying after his identity was revealed in the comic version of Civil War. After having no other options, Peter literally makes a deal with the devil because Mephisto grants him the opportunity to save Aunt May's life. In exchange, Mephisto takes Peter Parker's marriage with Mary Jane from him. It's pretty tragic because there's also a daughter involved that Mephisto disguised himself as, who was never born as a result of the exchange. But hey, Peter saved Aunt May and got his secret identity back. In the movie version of this story, we might see versions of like the life he could have had scenarios because Strange's spell seems to not go off flawlessly, and this opens the door to the multiverse and maybe some variants. Variants were introduced in the Loki series with alternate versions of characters existing in various parallel timelines where things are very different, including themselves. So in this trailer, we may have variant versions of villains that we've seen in previous Spider-Man movies forming a multiversal Sinister Six. So far, we've seen Doc Ock, played by a de-aged Alfred Molina, and a Pumpkin Bomb from Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, both coming back from the OG Spider-Man trilogy.
Misery, 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 that's what you've chosen.
And for good measure, you could actually hear Green Goblin laughing when the Pumpkin Bomb shows up. The Yellow Lightning is coming from the new version of Electro, which brings Jamie Foxx back to the part from the Amazing franchise, and he'll probably be more green and yellow, making him comics accurate this time around. We also get a peek at the return of Lizard from the Amazing franchise, and there's a Sandstorm, which seems to be the return of Sandman from the OG trilogy. That's only 5 though, so the 6th member of this Sinister Six could either be Michael Keaton's Vulture, Jared Leto's Morbius, Tom Hardy's Venom, or even Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. Go ahead, let me know who you want to see fill out the Sinister Six in the comment section. Also, I want to point out that Doc Ock probably isn't talking to Tom Holland's Spider-Man when he says, "Hey Peter," unless he's fully suited up, right? Because how would this Doc Ock be familiar with our MCU Peter Parker if they've never met, right? There's no look at Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield returning to their Spider-Man roles yet, but we might have gotten our first glimpse at Charlie Cox returning as Daredevil. In a police precinct, it looks like Matt Murdock might be coming to the aid of Peter Parker, as being a superhero is very much illegal in the MCU following the Sokovia Accords of Captain America Civil War, which are still in place, on top of the fact that Peter is being framed as a murderer having killed Mysterio. The big question here is whether or not all these cast members returning to roles they played outside of the MCU are continuations of those characters from the previous Spider-Man movie franchises and the Netflix shows, or if they are simply new variant versions of themselves, or a combination of both. Electro, for example, was last seen going out in a massive burst of energy and electricity. Doc Ock went down with an energy source as powerful as the sun. They could have been transported to another dimension from those energy sources in theory, but then you have Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, for example, who was very much dead in the OG Spider-Man trilogy, so it could be a combination of both new variants of these characters coming in with the same actors playing them, and maybe some continuations of their stories seen in previous franchises. That's what I'm really hoping for from Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's roles. The other question is whether or not Doctor Strange is actually Doctor Strange. Some people think he's a projection by Mysterio, but it could also be Mephisto, which is very likely. Strange doing a spell like this, that seems really uncharacteristic for him. And as pointed out in a clever tweet by Comicbook.com's Christian Hoffer, the deepest parts of hell are ice. This would explain all the weird snow in the Sanctum that could be Mephisto casting the spell. Then again, last time we saw the Sanctum, the Hulk put a hole through the roof, so maybe it's just a cold day in New York City, but we might be back on the Mephisto theory train, everybody. Overall, I think this is a really terrific trailer. It gave us a really deep picture of the story for the movie, but saved a lot of the surprises and overall plot for later trailers and the movie itself. Like, we all know these villains are in the movie when we are on Marvel Twitter and stuff, and we were expecting Tobey and Andrew to show up as their respective Spider-Man characters, but we didn't have to see that in this trailer, or any of them really. As someone who grew up on the OG trilogy, seeing that pumpkin bomb and Doc Ock's legs with Melina in the part, that's enough for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's interesting that One More Day is the comic book story that they're choosing to adapt, and I have a lot of questions about whether or not we're getting multiverse stuff in the ways we expected, after Loki seemed to already blow the multiverse open, and now we have potentially another Nexus event causing more timeline chaos.
And that's the gambit.
But those are questions that they want us to be asking. I'm interested, mission accomplished. I can't wait for December 17th. What Easter eggs and references did you catch in the teaser trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home? Drop them in the comments section or send them my way on Instagram at BrandonDavisPD, and head over to our Phase Zero podcast on any major podcast platform for weekly Wednesday deep dives into all things MCU. I'm BD. I'll see you there.